Hello guys, this is Sterility here, and I just wanted to do a real quick video talking about the new Action Combat System revamp announcement that was just made recently. I wanted to talk about it because I know that it's a pretty big change from what I've seen. I have read through this before, but I also just wanted to talk about it, sort of to give my own opinion about it, and also to express some of the concerns that I've heard from other people in regards to some of the points here. I do know that this revamp actually might even be a make or break for a lot of people in terms of continuing to play the game, so we'll see. So let's start actually with the top of the message. So it says, "Hello Chasers, thank you all for your feedback and continued support of Kurtzbell. We are happy to bring you this revamp that will hopefully make the gameplay even more fun and polish up the current combat system. We've read through your feedback and analyzed statistics to bring you this revamp that will take effect in the game during the preseason that will happen after the July 8th, 2020 maintenance. We strongly encourage everyone to give us feedback about this new revamp during the preseason so that we have time to polish it up before Season 5 starts." Now I will say, one thing that I thought was weird about this is the fact that it says we strongly encourage everyone to give us feedback about this new revamp during the preseason so we have time to polish it up before Season 5 starts. But the problem is preseason only lasts 1 week, and I don't know how much feedback that they're going to be able to get in that week and implement in that week. Like, any feedback that they get is going to be, like, it's not any feedback that they get. Any feedback that's small enough and easy enough to implement, they will do within a week. Because there's an announcement they made, the early closure of Season 4 and preseason. They have Season 5 still starts on the 15th, which is just 1 week. I mean, it even says preseason duration is the 8th to the 15th. So it's just 1 week. So, I mean, preseason doesn't really mean anything as well. Like, literally, preseason, yeah, preseason will not affect your rank. So I don't even think it's even worth really, like, playing competitively in preseason isn't really worth it for anybody who really wants to try. But I don't know. It's just weird. It doesn't feel like enough time to actually get and implement feedback for Season 5, but we'll see how that goes. Alright, it says, "Our goal was to keep the fun of combos while trying to lessen the power gap between new and experienced players, as well as making Kurtzbell more approachable and easier to play for new players." Now, I have a big problem with this statement. I'll tell you what part of the statement I think is good and is correct, and it starts with the word right here, "as." This part that says, "as well as making Kurtzbell more approachable and easier to play for new players," I 100% agree. It is not approachable for new players. It is super hard for new players to get in. This first part of the sentence though, "Our goal was to keep fun combos while trying to lessen the power gap between new and experienced players." You know, let's focus that even more to just lessen the power gap between new and experienced players. This is a fighting game, whether you like it or not. I mean, maybe you can consider something else, I don't know. But this is not a mindset that any game developer should really have, to be honest. I don't agree with this mindset at all in any game. I think when you lessen the power gap between new and experienced players, you're making the reward for being skilled at the game just not exist at all. And again, like I've been in discussions. I even went to a convention one time where one of the talks there was about reward and why randomness ruins games and stuff like that. And they mentioned the idea of skillfulness versus not skillfulness. And when you lessen the gap, it's just not rewarding if you're good at the game. Like, if you are good at this game, you just won't be rewarded that much. And to be honest, if you're good at the game currently, you don't get rewarded that much anyway. Like, legitimately, G ranks, they get nothing, really. They get an emote. That's it. They get the Elium Ore, which is just for reskinned weapons that are golden, which you can't really dye the golden part anyway, because that's the whole point of it. So, I don't know. I think they're looking at this from a wrong lens, though. I don't think this is a good perspective to have. Let's keep going. So Kurtzbell has been in early access for just over a year now, and just like other fighting games, we are facing the same problems as them. I think that statement is partly true, but I don't think that they're looking at it through the right lens. That is the huge power gap between new and existing players due to skill and knowledge. I like the second, the due to skill and knowledge. I understand it is hard for new players to understand how the game works because again there isn't anything, but it's not like the reason they can't understand it is because the game doesn't let them understand it. There's nothing in the game to help it. The tutorial is not that great. It's better than what it was, but it's still not great. There's no tutorials for there's no like advanced tutorials or intermediate tutorials. There's just the beginner tutorial at the start of the game, which really does nothing for you. And there's like an AI deathmatch that you can do if you're a new player, but the AI deathmatch is a very bad example of what actually happens in a game. And so what they need to do is create better tutorials, create more advanced tutorials that are specific to certain texts in the game or to certain karma so that people can better learn them. Instead of just having the idea of, well, we can't make it easier for new players to obtain this knowledge, so why don't we just hurt the people who already have the knowledge by lowering the skill gap? Like, it's just not a good way of looking at it, I feel like. Fighting games require a good matchmaking system and constant flow of new players, but because of this huge power gap, new players are having a difficult time understanding and enjoying Kurzweil. Again, the second half of this is correct. And the good matchmaking system is constant flow of new players, that's fair. One of the biggest aspects of Kurzweil is to use a variety of karma combinations to execute your own unique and stylish combos. I mean, this is just wrong. I've seen unique and stylish combos. Like, it's almost like when you're looking at Smash Bros. And, a new combo or a new character comes out, right? Like, Min-Mins came out. And, there's the whole idea of, oh, look at these Twitter combos. They look so pretty. They look so cool. And then you realize that's just not optimal. The most optimal combos in this game really don't look that cool. There's nothing unique about them. There's nothing stylish. It's just the same combo everybody does because it's the most effective thing. Also, because of the combo-based nature of Kurzweil, it's harder to pick up and play like FPS games. I don't know why this is a statement they needed to be made, and I think comparing an FPS game to Kurzweil is a very, very interesting comparison. Let's get into the new system. So a new system will lessen the power gap between new and experienced players. This new system is called the Blow system, which I think is a really funny name and that they made. The only other game I know that has a blow system is Dead or Alive, and if that doesn't speak for itself, I don't know what does. In order to make it easier for new players to execute combos, we've added a new attack status called Blow. Melee weapons left mouse button combo and aerial LMB combo's last attack will make the enemy enter a blow status. While in this status, you can simply execute the LMB combo to continue your combo. We are hoping that this new blow system will create a variety of different and unique combos. Great sword, dual sword, gauntlet, giant hammer, scythe, all that stuff. I actually like this change personally because it does mean that like there's more combo opportunity, right? Like as you can see, especially in this GIF, the first one right here, after you did that fourth attack, you were pretty much game over. Like if you didn't use Storm Slash or Leap or something like that, like you have to use a skill to follow up after the last hit of this string. But you don't have to worry about that anymore. Like you could go into a WW LMB off of that knockback, which, by the way, they say that the new stat, like they say that they have this thing called Blow System. This is really a knockdown change. All of this is just a knockdown change. It's sort of weird that they would just call it a blow system. It's just they made changes to how knockdown works, essentially. And it's cool that they did it to the aerial attacks as well, because a lot of times there was no reason to use the fourth aerial attack. Like it was just there, but for no reason, because it just leads to a hard knockdown anyway. But I do appreciate this in terms of combos. I do think it might make it easier for new players, but even the combos they show off in these GIFs aren't true at all, because they still end up being on the ground for like the whole time, or at some point in the combo they're on the ground, so they can just shift out. But I do like this implementation. It means more combos, more strings will be used, and it also just gives more focus on commands, which I've mentioned to people that I think Kurzweil currently and for the last quite few months, honestly, ever since season 1 has been a skill-based game, as in the meta revolved around using skills and not using commands. Commands were just filler. They were only there so that either your cooldowns could come off or you could gain more mana just to use your next skill. Like in the meta currently, you really only catch with skills. You play neutral with skills. You catch with skills. You combo with skills. And then when they're off cooldown or when they're on cooldown is when you use commands. Is pretty much it. And this looks like they're trying to change that, and especially more when we get below this. Stamina cost removed for command attacks. Managing stamina was put in place to increase the depth of gameplay, but it ended up becoming something that stressed out new players. Command attacks will no longer consume stamina, and because of this change, it will be much easier to create unique combos. We also hope this will lessen the stress of managing a resource. From this point on, stamina will be used for players that are constantly dashing or evading to stop them from frequently running from fights, and we are also reviewing the possibility of completely removing stamina. Veteran players might be worried about the possibility of infinite combos due to command attacks no longer requiring stamina, but we will be preventing that with our new combo limit system. So let me just say that this is probably the scariest thing that they're changing, and I mean, maybe not, but in my opinion, because I've mentioned, we've talked about this with other players, for one, I actually really do like this change. It ties in with this first part where there's a whole new reason to use commands. Like, this is a command meta now that we're approaching. It's all about your strength, it's all about your commands, it's less about your skills. Your skills aren't going to matter that much anymore. Like, obviously they're going to matter probably more for Slayers. I think Breaker's skills might not matter too much. They still are probably going to be useful for neutral and stuff like that, and maybe for some combos, but generally it's going to be just Slayers pumping out the skills to get damage in. But there's a lot more combos you can do. Combos are pretty much infinite, essentially, obviously outside of the combo limit system, but the biggest problem comes with the fact that this applies to all commands, and there's a problem there, because there are certain commands in this game that are extraordinarily powerful. I'm looking at you Hammer players who you hold down RMB. The only thing that Hammer RMB players had to worry about was running out of stamina. They now no longer have to worry about that. So now Hammer players are going to have a command that grants them faster movement speed, purple armor, and really high break, mainly due to being able to access Hammer Flip, and it doesn't use a single bit of stamina. So it's going to be even more spammable. It's going to be really hard to contest. Like, that was the only advantage. If anybody was going up a hammer that was using RMB, the only advantage that the player had was that the person charging hammer RMB might run out of stamina eventually. Or they can't keep on doing it. Like, there has to be a break period essentially, but that's just no longer the case, which is a little scary to think about. There's also a bunch of other commands. I know people are worried about bow poke and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes out. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal though against bow and stuff like that, because if you think about it, you can spam WWLMV against bows and orbs now and they can't do anything, because every time you do WWLMV you're refreshing your armor, so you can just do it again and again and again and again, and you'll just constantly be refreshing your armor because of that. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong and maybe it will be a lot more annoying, but again, we'll see. Then we have the combo limit system, a new system that puts a limit on the length of your combo. When you can perform a 100 to 0 combo on an opponent, it can feel awesome and rewarding. However, when you are on the receiving end, it is very stressful, especially if there's no counterplay. We've determined that being in a helpless position where all you can do is sit and watch a character die is something that brings great fatigue and stress. We've tried to create an escape for players by providing the rage break system. The same problem was there, and it actually didn't help much since players had to sacrifice their full rage in order to execute their rage break. This in turn made it even harder for a losing team to recover from their position. This is why we are going to try and remedy this situation with the combo limit system. Now, I understand the combo limit system, but to be honest, to me, I feel like either have rage break or have combo limit system. Because the problem that the devs I think are having right now is that they forget that this is a team-based game. Like, even solo queue is still a team-based game. You might not be able to communicate with your teammate as well, but it is a team-based game. There are a multitude of ways that you can be peeled. Like, if you are caught in a combo, you have access to, currently, like right now, if you are caught in a combo, if you ever end up on the ground, you can shift out. If you end up in the air, you can rage break. And the third option, your teammate can peel. Literally just interrupt in any possible way. So you have 3 options currently to get out of a combo. Now you're going to have a 4th option. And I don't know, that's a little scary that there's so many options that of ways you can get out of a combo. Like, especially between Rage Break and the combo limit system, I think they should just have one and not the other, right? Because you're gonna get out one way or another. And to be honest, Rage Break is actually really broken in my opinion, because if you rage break somebody, if you are on the receiving end of a rage break, you can be caught off of it, which is the stupidest thing ever. I've been killed off of a rage breaks because of that. I'll be trying to burn somebody's rage break, force them to rage break, or else they're gonna die. And then they use it, I get sent flying back, and then all of a sudden I get caught, and I'm like, why am I caught? I should not be getting caught off a rage break, and they didn't address that here, and they really need to. I've suggested it so that if you rage break, anybody hit by a rage break goes into a chase limit where they get immediately knocked down and completely invincible. Like, they need to do that to rage break as soon as they can, because it's really annoying to get caught off of that. But I mean, the combo limit system I think makes sense. It's just I don't think it should be in there with rage break. I think they should choose one, not the other. Personally, I would just prefer the combo limit system over the rage break system. To me, it just makes sense, but I don't know. And then they continue saying, when you are attacked and stuck in the enemy's combo, your combo gauge will increase, and when it hits 100%, your emergency dodge will be activated. Emergency dodge is similar to rage break, but it does not consume your rage and will be activated automatically. Emergency dodge will push you back less than the season 4 rage break and will not knock back your enemies. This part is at least good, because if it did, it would be scary. I will say though, this GIF is so small I can't tell anything in it. Literally, this shows me nothing. There are these little icons above your head, which I assume maybe indicate whether the combo gauge is increasing to 100%. And I've also heard people speak about, does the combo gauge increase depending on the damage or depending on the hits? And this specifically says hits. Like it's only, yeah, the combo gauge will increase, and when it hits 100, your emergency dodge will be activated. So I think this is only based off on hits and not damage, because the damage part is right here with the accumulative combo damage reduction system, which is essentially damage scaling or diminishing returns. So it says, when the combo damage accumulates to a certain number, damage that is delivered after that point will be decreased. The combo limit system is in place to stop the infinite combos, but certain combos have high enough DPS that they can still dish out massive damage without the help of infinite combos. We will try to remedy this with the accumulative combo damage reduction. The system will stop players from dying from one combo and also lessen the stress of players stuck in helpless situations. We believe this will make Slayers play more aggressively, as they are no longer exposed to being defeated from one combo due to their weak defense. I mean, I guess. Okay, this whole thing about stopping players from dying in one combo, to be honest, it's very rare that this would happen unless you are in Slayer, in which case if you're being caught in Slayer, you should be punished for that anyway. Slayers are not meant to just be out in the open and, you know, just like tank everything that they want and deal as much damage as they want. Like, they already deal a shit ton of damage, and I'm perfectly fine with Slayers dealing a shit ton of damage. They just, I don't know. I don't really think that this is a great reason, but again, we'll have to see the implementation. Next up, removal of pause commands. So this is actually an interesting one. So commands like Greatsword, Spinning Slash that requires players to pause in between the LMB will no longer require pause, and instead can be activated by simply holding down LMB. We added this pause command to encourage skilled gameplay, but this was something that was hard to execute reliably for new players. Also, this combo wouldn't activate at times due to network issues. I'm glad they addressed that for veterans. This new hold LMB will now make it easier and more reliable for players to activate the commands when they want to. And this is for Greatsword, Longbow, Staff, Dual Sword, Gauntlet, and Giant Hammer. So what's interesting about this is, essentially, I believe what it's saying is that you can activate the multi-hit at any time. Like, you don't have to go through the LMBs. Like, I can just use it. So like if I'm standing still with sword and I just hold down LMB, I'll just go into spin attack. Like I won't even have to have done my first 2 LMBs to get there. I just start doing it immediately. And I think that's going to be an interesting change. I sort of like that change. I know some people have been worried about, well, it seems like you could just infinitely do that, except since the combo limit system is based off on hits, not damage, as far as I'm aware, multi-hit attacks are actually discouraged. It seems like multi-hit attacks are going to be discouraged in this new combo limit system because of the fact that it increases based off on hits and not damage. So the more hits you have, the worse it is. So you, in general, we're going to want to do moves that don't hit that much and do a lot of damage, which means that I think Witch is going to be pretty good. And I think, Bow and DS might not be as great because they're pretty reliant on multiple hits. But we'll see. So now we have skill cooldown increase in order to adjust the flow of combat. So it was easy to be out of mana when using 6 skills as they constantly came off cooldown, which made the combat too fast and hectic. This is just not true. This is not true at all. Combat was not too fast. And hectic? Maybe hectic is true, and we wanted to improve that. To make it easier for players to have time to strategize and make meaningful decisions, we needed to decrease the frequency of skill use. Adjusting the max mana and skill cooldown will make players think more about when to use certain skills and encourage strategic gameplay. Again, I like this reason. I hate this reason. The combat was not fast at all. But I actually sort of like this. Again, this is reinforcing the idea that they want to go to a more command-heavy meta. Now, I will address my concerns with a command-heavy meta at the end of this, though, because there are some things that I think are concerning. Important to delivery of combat-related info. We believe it is important to deliver combat info in a simple and consistent manner. In-game system that displayed indefinite nor easily mistakable info were improved. I'm not actually too sure what this means, but hopefully it's something good. Base endurance for same rules were unified. Before Greatsword and Gauntlets, base endurance was different and required different break damage to break them. From now on, karmas with the same rules will have the same endurance. Also, skills with the same endurance rank will require the same amount of break damage to break. So this was, I think, because of the fact that action endurance and spell endurance were 2 different things. And I talked about it with other people too, about like how does this affect anything. Like I honestly didn't really know what the difference was between action endurance and spell endurance. Like did Hammer and Scythe have more endurance when they were hit by fireballs from Witch compared to a sword or fist user? Like I actually didn't know. I couldn't really tell. So it seems like that might have actually been the case, and now they're unifying it, which is good. They probably should have done that a long time ago. But it'll be interesting. It also looks, and I'll get into it, but it looks like they're also normalizing the speed. Like action speed is one thing now. It doesn't look like there's casting speed and action speed. So, but we'll see. The scariest thing here actually though is skills with the same endurance rank will require the same amount of break damage to break. So what I understood from this sentence is that if you use a skill, and in my example I said leap. If leap breaks 11 bars of armor, this sentence to me sounds like it says that means leap has 11 bars of armor. So the amount of break it has is equal to the amount of armor it has. And what's interesting about that though, and what I think is the scariest part, is you have skills like stun hit and giga swing that their armor to break ratios are very, very different. So it makes me wonder though, are they going to increase giga swing and stun hit to be equal to the amount of break it does, or are they going to lower the break on both skills to be equivalent to what the armor is? Because this could go either way, and depending on which way it goes, obviously if it goes the first way I mentioned, it'll be a buff for both skills, an insane buff for stun hit and giga swing, and even ultimate heat. But if it goes the other way, it's going to be a hard nerf for all those skills. So we'll see how that goes. And to be honest, if a nerf to stun hit, a nerf to giga swing would be nice because it does do too much break. But to be honest, the break wasn't even the problem. I think it was the damage because that shit hits hard. does 5k damage sometimes, and it's like it makes you really wonder if Hammer was meant to be a Slayer with that. But anyway, let's continue. So removal of normal passives RNG. So there were certain passive skills that relied on RNG to activate the effects like skill cooldown reset. We believe that this cooldown reset effect made the gameplay unstable and hard to predict and wanted to move away from it. In order to make sure opponents can know exactly when certain skills are on cooldown after use, we decided to change this effect and other passive skills. So this change I actually like, mainly because of the fact that I never liked RNG based stuff. Like cooldown reset was the stupidest thing I ever had. Being hit by like 3 Giga swings in a row, it's actually disgusting. Or being crusaded 3 times in a row, it's so stupid. So I'm glad that they changed what some of the actual passives are that you can get. So I actually like the buff duration increase. That one's a good one. They had debuff duration increase, but they never had buff duration increase. So this is really going to help out, especially actually for sword. That means fortitude is going to last a lot longer, 20% longer. Although to be honest, it only lasted what, like somewhere probably between 6 and 8 seconds. So it'll only last 2 more seconds. Maybe that'll help, but we'll see. And then they have the instant cooldown decrease one, which is also new. This doesn't actually look that useful though, depending on how much they increase the cooldowns of skills, so we'll see. Stat improvement to give freedom of choosing weapons. So we will continue to add new weapons and wanted to give players the freedom to choose the weapon of their choice, which will encourage players to try out different weapon combinations. We didn't want the game system or stats on a weapon to discourage players from choosing a certain weapon and wanted to improve that. Our change to weapon movement speed and evade consuming stamina instead of mana in Season 4 was part of the reason why. In Season 5 we want to discourage players from choosing magic karmas because of their high max mana and instead choose the karma of their choice based on preference. So max mana difference between karmas decrease. So highest and lowest max mana difference change from 125 to 65. So pretty much everybody got a mana nerf, although a lot of them are more consistent against, so the magical karmas still have more, but again, it's only a 65 MP difference now. And some of them are even lower actually, like Orb and Longbow and Staff technically has the most still, but it's not nearly as big or drastic. Main Karma Info UI display improved, so after the July 8th patch, all physical and magical related stats will display the actual stats of your equipped weapon. We wanted to clear up the confusion so people had on the info that was displayed on the main Karma Info window and didn't want those confusing stats to deter players from choosing certain weapons. I still don't know if that means, like, is action speed gonna be one thing now? Like, is that just how it's gonna work? Clearly, because they said endurance is gonna be one thing now. But, you know, like, attack is all one thing. Critical chance is one thing. Action speed's one thing. You know, obviously mana recovery, stamina, all that stuff is separate still. But it really does make me wonder. I mean, even assuming that these two pictures represent the same thing, right? It says physical action speed and it shows physical action speed here. It doesn't show anything else, so I don't know. I honestly don't know if they are actually unifying the stats or not in terms of the magic stones, but we'll see, I guess. Balance. The thing we wanted to address and improve this time was players being forced to run a certain meta and the gameplay becoming stale and boring. Our goal was to have players explore and discover new combinations of karma, stats, and roles. The current meta of always choosing a certain karma, HP increase stats, or running 2 breakers or 2 slayers was not our intention. We felt the balance needed a bit of work. I mean, yeah, the meta of always choosing a certain karma, that part's true. HP increase is a stupid fucking stat, should never have been in the game. Or at least, like, it should be regulated, right? Like, it shouldn't be. And I mean, I'm going to talk about this, I think, in the next paragraph too. The introduction of the Magic Stone system was one of the worst things that this game could have possibly had. Having completely random stats that do impact how you play and how effective you might play is absolutely absurd. Okay, like at the very least, give us stones that give us the exact stats that we want. Like this wouldn't we wouldn't be complaining about this shit we probably wouldn't even be complaining about HP increase if it wasn't for the fact that it's completely random whether we get it or not. And for new players who have to roll it, or for free-to-play players who don't want to spend money in the game, have to roll these stats, it sucks. It really does. When you fucking roll 100 magic stones and you don't get a single HP increase, or maybe you get a white HP increase, which increases it by like fucking 100, 200 HP compared to gold, which gives you 500. Like, that's absurd. We expect the newly added damage adjustment system should decrease the DPS gap between weapons and have a positive effect on the meta. We are aware currently that certain magic stone stats like HP increase is too efficient and outshines all other stats in comparison. We will be analyzing our data and adjust this in the future. We are also planning to balance certain karma that's not being picked due to its high difficulty. We will be addressing Elemental Burster, which has the lowest win and pick rate during Season 4 by decreasing the karma's difficulty, and some of the changes will be applied to the game at the start of the preseason. So there will be some changes to Canon July 8th, is essentially what this is saying. And this is good. Canon is a hardly designed karma, but they need to just completely rework how Canon works. It is a hardly designed karma, and it is like the gameplay that is encouraged by the kit that Canon has access to is a terrible, terrible design. It is designed to play passive. It is designed in a way that doesn't really reward being skillful with your combos, and it's really stupid, and its combo game sucks. Like, you have full burst, and full burst is already stupid because full burst undermines the whole entire idea of what the karma was supposed to be in the first place, which was a karma that relied on your skill to aim. Like, it was like, oh, well, this karma is all going to be about all aiming. Like, literally, if you go to the January 15th patch notes for the update that happened on January 15th, it will talk about the new karma canon, and it specifically says that it's all about aiming. Like, everything about it is about aiming. Now, sure enough, eventually, like last month or something, they did change the LMB attacks to autofocus instead of aiming, but full burst since the beginning has been the one skill that doesn't require any aiming at all. It locks on, does a shit ton of damage, can bypass Rage Break, by the way, because it just hits so fast. And it's just such an annoying thing. But so I'm glad that they're addressing it, but I really hope they do the right thing. And again, in terms of the certain magic stones like HP increase, it's too efficient. It's too efficient because not only is it probably the best raw stat, I'm gonna be honest, I mean, everybody knows it is, but you have to just play the fucking random number gods to hope you get it. It doesn't matter if you nerf HP increase, or if you get rid of it. What matters to me is the fact that the magic stone is there in the first place. Magic stone system is one of the worst systems in this game, and as a new player going into it, I could imagine it would be one of the worst systems to see in a game like this. If I was a new player going into this game, I would not want to be like, oh, how'd you get your stats? Oh, well, I rolled for them. So there's it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to get the same stats that I got, but, if you just keep rolling, eventually you should, right? Like, that's such a piss poor mindset to have, and they really need to revamp. Either get rid of the magic stone system, add magic stones that give you the specific stat you want, and they do that in Elsword, which is, a game made by the same company. Like, if you wanted action speed on your weapon, you could buy an action speed magic stone, and you could apply it to your weapon, and it would tell you exactly what percentage it's going to give to your weapon. Like, if they just added shit like that to this game, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But as it is now, the stat is completely random. You literally have like what is it? Like, it's a 1 out of 52 or 48 chance of getting the stat that you desire. I guess technically like 1 out of 12 to get the stat you want, but then to get the highest rarity you want, it's 1 out of 48, which is stupid. And then, of course, if you have 4 slots, I think the percentage was like 0.05% chance of you getting the stat that you really, really want, which is insane. We feel it is important to build a long-lasting trust between us and you, the chasers, regarding balance. We're sure some players felt that certain balance points in the past were kind of off or different from the feedback given by the community. Balance in Kurzweil is not decided by a few people, but rather we listen to the community's feedback and also balance based on the data of win rate, pick rate, individual game modes. This is just so hard to believe, I'm not gonna lie. This just sounds like pure bullshit, but, you know, we're gonna hope that that's true. In the near future, we will be communicating with you about how we balance the game and inform on the choices we've made for balance based on analyzed statistics. This part is good, and they should have been doing this since the start, and it's fucking blows my mind that they never did this. And to be honest, they've made messages like this in the past, so that's why I'm sort of smelling bullshit here. But I really hope that they fucking live up to what they just said in this paragraph, because if they don't, they're fucking dumb. And in closing, optimization and providing better network are something an online game must continue to improve on. No shit. At the start of this preseason, we will be implementing and testing the optimization for the frame rate. We are continuing to look for the source of issues that cause constant frame drops and lag. We are even looking at the possibility of restructuring the backend system in order to improve this aspect of Kurzweil. It might take some time, but we will continue to make improvements and wanted to share with everyone that we are working on it. We are also preparing a roadmap that will inform everyone on the future content of Kurzweil and will definitely return to you with updates. We would like to ask for a little more patience from everyone until we can deliver this roadmap. This is good, actually. I do want them to continue roadmaps again, because there was honestly the only things to look forward to. But yeah, they really need to fucking get a better network environment. Holy shit. Dude, they're as bad as the fucking Japanese fighting game companies that are like, rollback netcode, what's that? We don't want that shit. No, we want delay based. You know, we never invented it, or we never understood rollback, and we don't want to. And you know, it's so stupid. Like, having good internet or good online in a game is just like a must. Like, it's downright stupid that any game released in 2020 should have bad internet or have a bad online experience. Like, that's just unacceptable nowadays. And this game is like fucking worse than Smash Ultimate Online in terms of its network capabilities. It is so bad. Now, it's not like delay-based netcode, so the game doesn't freeze and buffer every time a connection drops or is desynced, but to be honest, I think it's worse because, you know, people will just fucking teleport, although just shit will come out that you'll never see coming, and you'll do things that you didn't mean to do, or you'll try to do an input and it just gets completely swallowed up by the server not understanding it, and you'll get caught because of that. Like, I don't know. I'm glad that they recognize networking as a problem, but I really, they need to fix it. They need to fix it as fast as they can, and it's just unacceptable, to be honest. They should have fixed it a long time ago. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Actually, no, I did want to make the one comment that I made in regards to the combo limit, having a combo meta. My only problem with a combo meta is that there are certain karmas, one of them addressed here, Cannon and Scythe, and to some extent Orb, have the smallest command lines, or command lists. They have the least amount of commands. So when you're in a command heavy meta, having very little commands, especially Cannon, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why they added so little commands to this game. Now, that being said, I think Scythe actually might be sort of fucking scary since there's no stamina on any of the commands, and RMB on Scythe is fucking terrifying to contest. It's constant refreshed armor, and it does a decent amount of break. I think it's like 4.5 bars for every single RMB, and you get the demons back by doing LMB attacks, which don't cost stamina anymore. So you can literally just loop an RMB into an LMB into an RMB into an LMB. Is that the most effective thing to do? No, but it's still crazy that you can do that with this new change. So, but especially like Cannon and Orb, I think having a focus on commands when they don't really have that great of commands. Again, especially Cannon. Cannon has really bad commands. Like, literally, the best commands that Cannon has, to be honest, are the shift attack and the dash attack. Its LMB combo is terrible. Its multi-hit is terrible. I guess its aerial attack isn't too bad, its R&Bs aren't too bad, but they don't really combo into each other as well as it could. But I don't know. Again, we'll see. This video is already long, so I don't want it to be much longer. So I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.